Ooh.
I know, we're official. All right, welcome to tonight's Girl Scouts in the Heart of Pennsylvania Career Chat. We are talking about women in construction tonight, and I have 3 women who are our panelists today, and we're super excited to have them here with us. We have Lindy Hitzel, Caitlin Stowe, and Stacy Daron. Did I pronounce those right?
Darren.
I was close.
It was so close, yeah.
So close. All right, so a little bit about Lindy. Lindy currently works with construction management firm Campbell Associates as a business developer. She has been in her role for 7 months, but has been around construction her entire life and entered into this profession as a developer and a recruiter. In addition to her day job, she volunteers with the National Association of Women in Construction, Society of Marketing Professional Services, York County Economic Alliance, and York County Development. She lives in York with her husband and cat, and she enjoys walking on the rail trail without the cat. Yeah, you gotta take a break from the cat every once in a while. Caitlin is a project manager with Kinsley and has been doing this kind of work for about 10 years. She has a background in healthcare and construction. Background in healthcare and in construction was not something that she had ever given thought to. She is an EMT and firefighter with a local fire company and has been doing that for the past 16 years. She's previously worked as a 911 dispatcher, EMT, and has worked at emergency department in a local hospital. She said she stumbled into construction, and we're going to have to hear about that story for sure. She's worked on lots of projects. She lives in Dillsburg with her son, who is in 10th grade, and likes to use her free time volunteering with the fire department and with her attending her son's baseball game. And I will get words out today. Apparently, it's a hard day for words. Stacy is an environmental health and safety manager. She has worked 23 years in the construction safety area. In her role, she has the overall responsibility for safety on the construction job site, which is super important, which I bet is on everyone's mind. She has worked on many, many projects, Penn State, in Philly, all over. Let's see, from 2002 to 2019, Stacy served as the safety director for the Philadelphia office and provided safety leadership across Turner's Eastern Pennsylvania and Southern New Jersey and Delaware project sites. So you cover quite an area. Yeah, Stacy is a graduate of Millersville University and holds a Bachelor's of Science in Occupational Safety and Industry Hygiene. She is a member of the American Society of Safety Engineers, as well as the National Fire Protection Association. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
How are you doing this evening?
Time.
Oh, good.
but happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you are here. What we kind of want to start out with is kind of an overview of what your job really means. When you say you're a safety manager, what does that really mean for the girls? So let's start with Stacy.
Okay.
What do you do for your job?
So my responsibilities on the project are to basically make sure that every worker goes home at the end of the day to their families. Construction is a very risky industry. There's a lot of inherent hazards that go along with putting a building together, from, digging in the earth to, putting steel up, pouring concrete, and even, when we move into the interiors portion of a project, electricity and working at heights. So there's a lot of rules. The government have rules. The OSHA standards are sort of the bare minimum that are required for everybody to follow in the construction industry. But then obviously other companies can have added layers to that. The company I work for has chosen to do so. So we have our own policies and procedures that we have to make sure are being followed, again, because the ultimate goal, the way that we measure success is that, people go home at the end of the day to their families.
It's a pretty good way to measure success.
Yeah.
Caitlin, what do you do in your job? What does it entail?
So I am a project manager. And basically what I do is I oversee the entire project. Sometimes it starts before the project is even built, and then sometimes it's given to me, after design is complete. And my main responsibilities are to coordinate all of the contractors that we have working for us. So it's not just one group that's doing the whole project, it's divided into multiple groups. So we have flooring, we have painting, we have steel. And my focus is to really make sure that they're all building the project per the plans, the documents that have been designed by the architectural team. And it's really just coordination between all of the contractors and the owner and the architect and the other designers. And really my focus is making sure that the project is built in the timeline that it needs to be built and that it stays on budget. So we really have to watch how much money we spend. And that's really kind of my main focus throughout the course of the job. There's a lot of other different players that are involved, but as the PM, it's a pretty big responsibility to make sure that it's done on time and at a cost that the owner was expecting it to be.
That's pretty important. Yeah. Lindy, what is your job?
Right. So business development in construction is, as it sounds, it's developing business, and it's just a fancy way of saying sales. So it's actually, this is good that we have this wide range of different women in construction, because I'm like the first person that an owner may talk to. I go out and I talk about how amazing the Stacys and the Caitlins are that work at my company and sell people on my construction services. And then if they agree to my general terms and my charming personality, I get to bring the project to the Caitlins and the Stacys, and they execute it well and correctly so that that owner keeps coming back to us.
Excellent. I like how you explained that. That's very, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
What got you into the construction field? What interested you? What made you say, I am going to do this? Lindy, let's start with you.
So my dad actually is my boss. So I have been on construction sites since I could walk. But what really appealed me to it is it really is an industry that will be around forever and has been around since the beginning of time. Even with COVID, we've seen, the ladies can agree with me, we're still working and keeping people safe, as Stephanie alluded to there. So it's just fascinating to me how it's an age-old industry that changes every year. And there are so many different personalities we get to work with, and we get to bring people's dreams to life. That's what gets me up in the morning, is when I get to talk to somebody and they say, well, it would be great if we had this building, and then I get to work with others to make it a reality. So you really get to see your work come to life, to make it cheesy infomercial version.
Hey, we like some good cheese here. That's all
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Casey, how did you get in?
I was going to school at Millersville, and I was a business major, and I wasn't liking the courses. I'm like, I don't think this is going to be what I want to do for the rest of my life. And just by luck, Millersville had an intro to occupational safety. And I decided to take that on a lark, just to try it out, see what this is about. My father, talking about having a father as a guide, right? But my father was on the risk side of things in the insurance industry. So I sort of had an idea about what safety was and what it entailed, but I wanted to dig a little deeper into it. And I took the course. I loved the professor. I loved what it was about, helping people, making sure, again, people are taken care of. So I sort of fell into safety that way. And I got into construction by accident as well, because our course load at school was really geared towards general industry, like manufacturing plants or pharmaceutical companies, things that, sort of remain the same day after day. Like you're on a manufacturing plant or like a line, of something being made. It's the same thing, right? Day after day. And I got an invite to do an interview for a drywall subcontractor. It's where I started before I moved up to a construction manager, but got an interview with a drywall subcontractor, and I was like, I got to start somewhere. I got to start my career somewhere, right? So I took the job, And I really liked it. I really enjoyed the aspect of being outside and also office. You get to mix it up. And as Lindy said, seeing things being built, like actual, like your job is tangible. Like there's something you can see come to life, something that starts from nothing and ends up being a hospital, to help people, or an office building where people will go to live out their dreams and do their careers. So it was just something about the day-to-day never being the same for me, which is really the big draw.
Excellent. And Caitlin, how did you get into your career?
Well, construction was, like you mentioned, that was not something that I had ever really planned on. My focus was mostly healthcare. I wanted to be a doctor. I had a full scholarship to Penn State, but I just couldn't really make up my mind what I wanted to do for certain. So I kind of took a different path, and I did a couple different things, mostly, community service related. And I discovered a position for a construction company in healthcare construction. And it really sparked my interest. I'm not originally from Pennsylvania. We've moved all over the place when I was a kid, and my mom was always into buying fixer-upper houses. So I spent most of my childhood renovating old properties and had a pretty good idea what construction was. So although residential isn't quite the same as commercial, I kind of felt like, I had a tie to it and I knew a little bit. So when the healthcare construction opportunity became available, it really sparked my interest. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try that. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions that I've ever made. I did start at the bottom. I was a project assistant. I didn't have the responsibility that I do now, but thanks to a lot of great mentors, I was able to learn a lot and climb the ranks and fell into what I'm doing now. And I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else.
That's great. I say all three of you seem very happy where you are. And that's always a good sign.
Yeah.
So kind of walk us through, and I know there's no like typical day, but like day-to-day operations, like what are the little jobs that you have to deal with to kind of give the girls a better idea of those details of what it means to be a project manager. Caitlin, do you want to start for us?
Sure. So most of my days consist of attending meetings, and in those meetings, we have the opportunity to review the project and hash out any issues. So it could be something that has come up in the field where maybe something didn't work the way it was supposed to be on the drawings. And the crews will bring that to their project managers, and then we'll have a meeting and we'll say, okay, you've found something that doesn't work, so we need to figure out a solution. So we'll review everything with the design team, come up with a plan, and kind of tackle it that way. So that's kind of one piece. And then, it kind of varies day by day. It just depends what's happening. A lot of time is spent, like I said, resolving issues, but then obviously it's also managing the costs, like I mentioned. So if there's a change, it's usually comes with a cost impact. So then we have to get that cost from the sub. I review the paperwork and then submit what's called a change order to the owner. That basically just tells them, hey, there's been either an increase or a decrease, and this is the impact to you. And then aside from that, I mean, I know Stacy, she's in safety. That's also part of what I do. It's kind of everybody's responsibility on the job site to make sure that everybody goes home. So that's, it varies. There's so much that's different each day. And I think that's why I enjoy it so much, because no 2 days are ever the same. There's always something different. I'm always learning. I don't think I will ever know everything there is to know about construction. And that's what keeps it exciting.
Excellent. Lindy, what's your day look like?
So my day, I talk to people pretty much all day, and it's a range of people and a range of different atmospheres. So I might start off with meeting someone for coffee in York, and then have to go out to Harrisburg for lunch, and then be in Lancaster for a happy hour. It really just depends, or a networking event of some sort. And it really my job is just talking to people, hearing what's going on in the community, maybe connecting people. You know, I might talk to somebody who really needs a plumber. Well, I've got a great plumber. Here's Bob Joe who can do your job. Don't pay me, kind of things, just out of goodwill, if you will. And just talking to people. Sometimes I'm in the office and I get to hang out with my project managers and they get to tell me about all the projects they're getting into and what kinds of things they want me to bring in the door for them. And some complaining and some not complaining, but you never know, right? And yeah, it's just a lot of just talking to people, being on the road, finding out what's going on.
Excellent. And Stacy, what does your day look like?
Majority of the day is out in the field, out there on the project, but it's really about building the relationships with the workers out there. You know, when you're building a relationship with an individual, with a team of players, it makes the ask easier, right? Like, here's why we need you to do X. You know, here's why you should be doing Z. You know, and by making them understand the reasons behind it, and by having a relationship and a rapport with the individual workers on the job site, makes the day so much better. It makes things go a lot smoother, you know, and you get to know people. It just makes the day more fun. And, you know, like I said, the day's never the same. You're out there in the morning at 9 a.m. and there's an excavation wide open to put in a sanitary pipe. By 3 o'clock at the end of the day, they're done, right? And the whole, you know, landscape of the project has changed by the next day. So the role of safety is obviously to make sure people, you know, work safe and go home, but it's really, really important about the establishment of the relationships with the workers.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking, like, what are some skills or characteristics or talents that would be important for the girls to have to do your job, to have a job like yours? And you were talking about being able to build that relationship. Stacy, is there anything else that you think would really be helpful?
Well, I mean, besides having some technical knowledge and the knowledge of the like I said, the OSHA standards, I mean, you can go and reference, you know, and go look online, you know, if there's I'm not exactly sure what the guardrail height's supposed to be. Like, you can look all that stuff up, right? All that stuff's written down somewhere. But again, you know, having the people skills, knowing how to communicate, getting your face out of this, right? And actually spending time talking to people, getting to know them, you know, sharing your life stories out there on the field. You know, you get to work together, and makes it so much easier and makes the day go smoother. And, you know, it's about people. You know, that's ultimately what our greatest asset is on any construction site, are the people that are putting this project together. So we should really invest in them.
Excellent. Caitlin, what are some skills or characteristics that would really help a girl succeed in a position like yours?
I know it sounds a little cliche, but confidence is definitely key. It is a predominantly male industry, and you do have to be confident in yourself to be able to succeed. And I think, you know, Stacy kind of hit the nail on the head. It's communication. And, you know, Lindy, I'm sure she would agree, relationships are everything. And it's all about how you treat people and the relationships that you form, because I know with Kinsley, a lot of our work is with repeat customers, and it's because of our people. It's because of the relationships and the way they communicate and listen. And I think those are really, really important. The soft skills, which is the communication and, you know, the ability to build a relationship with someone, that's important. Like Stacy said, the hard skills, they can be taught, but it's the soft skills that you need.
Excellent. Lindy?
Yeah, Caitlin, you said all you I think two really big ones to make sure you always have when going into really any industry, not necessarily construction, is patience, because it is very slow in construction sometimes, and there are a lot of different personalities you need to deal with. So I've found that just having grace and being kind before jumping to any conclusions has gotten me a lot farther in conversations, especially tough ones, than trying to be brave and this big tough girl that will just walk in and beat you up if you don't listen to her kind of. But on the same token, As Caitlin mentioned, this is a very male-dominated industry, and a common question that I'm sure all of us have gotten is, well, how do you handle being the only woman in the room? And for me, the answer is always, well, I treat everyone with the same respect, regardless if they're a girl or a guy, and I expect them to respect me. I expect them to respect me in the same way. So I have found that treating a Brad or a Brandon the same way that I treat a Caitlin and a Stacy shows that that's how I roll, and people treat me the same way. And it's gotten me a lot closer to people than trying to have this chip on my shoulder that I'm the only chick in the room. So.
Excellent. Well, and that kind of brings up the question of what is a misconception that people have about women in construction or the construction industry? And so what's one misconception, and how do you educate people on that? Lindy?
Yeah. Well, luckily it is 2020, so I think it's gotten a little better. You guys can correct me. You've been around more than I have. My way of going about that is I always try to be over prepared in any case scenario that I have. And my dad, because he was in construction, always said, never let being a woman be the reason why. So never let it be the reason why you're not prepared for something. Let it not be the reason that you miss a deadline or that you don't know the answer to something. Go above and beyond. So that's not even a question as to why you are, maybe you slip up, make a mistake, whatever. And the fact that I work with a parental figure was even more pressure, because it was, make sure you prove that you are here for a reason. But again, back to the respect thing. I mean, sometimes the perception could be that you got your job because you're a woman and you're an added diversity. So my goal was to always show that I deserve my spot because of my talents and my skills, not because I was a lady, or race, sex, any of it should never be in the question when I'm in the room or applying for a job.
Excellent. Stacy, what's a misconception that you run into that people have about construction?
That the women in construction are exceptionally tough. Like, it's like, I'm not tougher than the next female, it's just the industry I chose to be in, it's like,
Right.
I wear makeup and wear dresses from time to time too, it's like, not on the job site, you won't catch me wearing that, but I don't know, it's just, it makes it seem like, we have extra testosterone sometimes, or, it's weird, but, I think that, when I started out 20 some years ago, it was definitely a different world. I mean, it seems like a short amount of time. It's like a blink of an eye to me. But, I can remember being asked, if I had the guts to do the job. And I don't think that they would ever have asked a male, my male counterpart that same question. So, I was asked that question. I was like, why are you asking me that? And, I'm just wondering, but, to Lindy's point, it's just, you do the job well, period. Right. It doesn't matter, your gender, your race, your identity in any way. Should just do the job well that you're there to do. Right. And that'll be what people remember you by. So, I definitely see a difference in the industry. Although today I just had someone ask me, are you so-and-so's assistant? And I was like, oh, I'm not. It was a younger gentleman, and I think he just, made an assumption. But there's definitely strides that have been made in the industry. There's more and more women, in the trades, even, the ones who are doing the actual work, like, Caitlin, Lindy, and I are all about management, right, of a project type scenario. But there's people in the trades, females, that are electricians and plumbers and tin knockers and hanging steel and, kicking butt and taking names out there. So there's more to construction, other than just the management side too.
Excellent. Caitlin, any misconception that you really want to clear up?
Yeah, I mean, really, with my position, like I said, I've been doing this for about 10 years, and there has definitely been an evolution. And from my perspective, in those past 10 years, when I first started, it was tough because there were a lot I hate to use this term, but it was like the old school mentality that construction is not for women. They don't really have a place, or you don't really know what you're doing. So it was just, you had to work really hard to prove that you had a spot. Just like Lindy said, you had to do everything well. But now I see that we have advanced and I don't feel that pressure so much anymore. And I think that there is more awareness, and there are a lot more women. Like Stacy said, I mean, I see women out in the field doing the work more than I ever have. And it has made great strides. Occasionally you still, I encounter somebody that questions my abilities, but I think it just comes back to having confidence in what I do and knowing that I do know what I'm doing, and just being respectful and polite and saying, this is what I know. And if I don't know something, I'm not afraid to ask for help. And I think that kind of goes far. But, as Stacy said, I think we're seeing a huge turnaround, and there's been a lot of improvement in the last couple of years. So I don't know, it's not so much of an issue anymore.
I think that's
great to
an
hear.
attest to you guys, though, that you've paved the way for people like me to come in and be comfortable in this industry. So, I mean, give yourselves a pat on the back for that. I mean, there's a reason why that these women are coming in, and hopefully more from this panel are interested in construction, and maybe one day it'll be a lady industry and like the men won't.
One can hope. And then, so kind of along those lines, looking towards the next generation of women coming in to construction, what are some things that our girls who are watching this, middle school, high school age, what are some things that they can be doing now that can kind of maybe give them a leg up? Or if they're maybe on the fence, what can they do to see if this is something they're really interested in? Caitlin, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are kind of local to York. I think most of you are. But I know Kinsley offers a program. I mean, we have an education center, and we also have an apprenticeship program. And I'm sure if there was an interest, if you reached out to someone and you wanted to shadow for a day, I don't think they would turn anyone away from that. And, you would definitely be able to see the different positions available. Like project management is just one piece. There's marketing, there's, safety, like Stacy, and then there's estimating, where they're actually, putting the numbers together and determining how much the project is going to cost. So I think, just reaching out to local organizations if you have an interest, and just say, I'm a student and I'm thinking about a career in this field. Is there something available for me where I could shadow and learn a little bit more about, the potential openings that there are? I think that would be a good place to start.
Excellent. Lindy, any suggestions?
I would agree. Any shadowing or interning that's available. I did an internship through my high school, let me get out early, which was even better. And I got credit for it. So freaking double bonus, and I guess triple since I was learning. But as Caitlin and Stacey can probably to attest to this, is our industry is actually pretty small and everybody knows everybody. So if you do start dipping your toe in a shadow experience or an apprenticeship, never burn a bridge. Again, with the respect thing, you just never know who somebody knows. And I've found in talking to people, the way that they expand their career is by just asking around of, hey, I'm thinking I might want to do this. Do you know anybody that you can connect me to? And they just move on to the next thing, and promotion, whatever it is, new education skills, you name it, they know through a network connection. So if you do start getting involved in construction or any industry, make sure you're keeping people's names, keeping in touch, because you just never know when you got to call them up and say, hey, I need a favor.
Very true. Stacy, ideas?
Construction, it's a heavy science, math type field. So if you have an interest in that, I would promote that. Communication, your English skills are also something. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into play. Various trades. I know that, some of the union halls for unions have, like career days where they invite, younger students in, younger people who have an interest in maybe learning more about what an electrician does. And then various contractors, like I know the company I work for, we have internships, for the college students, who are pursuing a career in construction management or civil engineering, those types of formats, or, safety. So yeah, it's going along with what Lindy said too. It's like, as you are going through your schooling, right, and you're going through not just your high school, but also into college, or, maybe you're going to enter the trade school, like you're building relationships with people, right? And make sure that you never burn a bridge, because you never know when that's going to be someone that you may need in your back pocket to reach out to and be like, hey, I'm looking for work, or hey, I remember you knew so-and-so and I'm looking to make a connection, right? So, developing relationships, it's never too early to learn how to do that.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that's a good skill with whatever career you go into. I mean, I'm using connections and networking daily to get people to come on career chats. So here's kind of a fun question for you. And we'll start with Stacy. What is the best thing about your job? And what is one thing that you would want to change about your job? We're not going to say worst. We're just saying what's thing that you'd like to change.
Okay. The best thing about my job is when a worker comes up and says thank you. Not a lot of times it's an awful thankless job that safety folks do out there. You never know. It's hard to know that you're preventing an accident just because nothing happens, right? Like, you don't know, like, did I just stop something from happening? Like, it's hard to determine, like, when you're doing the right. I don't know if I'm putting this across the right way. You never know when you're going to stop that accident from happening. Maybe you stopped and you talked to someone about, hey man, you got to put your safety glasses on when you're doing that activity. And did I just stop him from seriously getting hurt? I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. So I mean, the best day is when a worker does recognize the fact that, my job is to make sure that he or her goes home safe, right? Like, my job is to worry about you. So, getting that recognition is a good day. A bad day or something I want to change.
Yeah, something you would change. So it doesn't really have to be a bad thing.
There's still some knuckleheads in the industry that, they just don't understand the why, or they think that, it's not going to happen to me, that kind of attitude. And guess what? It can happen to anyone at any minute. So, I mean, just having that cavalier attitude, I wish I could change in a lot of people.
Yeah. Caitlin, what is your favorite part of your job, and what's one thing that you would change?
My favorite part of the job is seeing a project when it's totally done. It can be extremely stressful, and you might cry a little bit along the way, just hoping it gets done. But when it's done, it's a really good feeling, because a lot of the projects that I've worked on is either healthcare, or, it has something to do with students, or it's public, it's related to the public somehow. So it's really special to me to know that I'm turning over something that other people are going to be able to enjoy. So that's really cool. Something that I would change, I'm just going to be honest, I am not a morning person, and I am not a fan of 6 a.m. meetings. And if we could eliminate those, that would be amazing.
Yeah, construction's an early
meeting.
Yes.
So early.
Yeah.
Those shouldn't exist.
They shouldn't. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. My alarm clock goes off at 4:30. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm never gonna complain about an 8 o'clock meeting again.
No. I'm on my third cup of coffee at 8.
I hear that.
All right, Lindy, what is your favorite, and what's something you would change?
Well, I wanted to say something similar to Caitlin, that when a job is done and you get to see the impact that it brought to the community, is probably the best feeling that I think anybody in any chair in the process would agree with. We do a lot of multifamily residential, so houses and apartment complexes, townhomes. And I was just walking a site the other day, and it's just drywall, so it looks like a wooden empty house. And I just thought, with Halloween coming up, it's this long driveway, and someday there are going to be these kids walking up and down trick or treating. Hits me to the darkest part of my soul. Like, that's awesome. I mean, in the moment, you don't think about that, all the stress that you go through to get it there. But then when it's done and there, you get to hand the keys over and someone lives there and starts their life, maybe grows up, it makes it all worth it for that couple of years where you're really pulling your hair out over it for someone's lifetime in that building. And then if I could change one thing, certainly the early morning starts are a good one. And I had something in my head and I forget what it was. So we're just going to agree with that one. Probably that I could wear jeans all the time. I like now that we're moving towards more casual because of COVID, and I'm not in the field, so I don't always get to wear the boots and the warm clothing, but I'd appreciate more casual even in the office sometimes.
I think we all would, yes. So kind of along the lines for the girls to prepare, is there like a certain education level? Like, do they need a specialized degree? Is this something they could do right out of high school? What kind of training? And if you could speak to kind of the broad sense, like not just yours, but like if they wanted to be like do the electrician or be one of the contractors, what kind of education prep do they need? Lindy, let's start with you.
So this is such a complex, I could speak on this for hours, but I'll condense it to like a minute and a half, maybe 20. I don't know.
That'd be great.
So it really depends on what position you want to run with. Like we've been saying with relationships, you have those soft skills and you show any interest in something, somebody in your network is willing to show you how to do it. So for example, we just took on an assistant project manager. So someone who helps Caitlin with her job, maybe with the smaller tasks. And that's where you start. I think if I remember correctly, he was a bartender and I knew him from high school and he lost his job for COVID. And I said, that's okay. We'll teach you everything you need to know. And he doesn't have a college degree and he's about to learn how to do something that could be making tons of money after 10 years, 12 years in the industry. The trades do require a little bit more formal training because you're working with electrical wires, you're working with plumbing, or maybe even sprinklers for if there's a fire in the building. So apprentice programs, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, usually do require a high school diploma, but then past that, they're going to show you everything you need to know. And eventually, if you want the office job, you can start petitioning that with your employer. Say, hey, I've been out in the field. We have a woman now who's a carpenter, go her. And she said, hey, one day I want to be in the office. And we go, all right, well, we're going to do that for you. Go learn how to do your field stuff and we'll move you into the office. So it really just depends on what you want to do and who you know, honestly.
Cool. Stacy.
Yeah, like Lindy said, if you want to go the trade route, work with your hands and putting the actual building together, you do need your high school or GED in order to get into many of the apprenticeship programs. The apprenticeship programs are anywhere from like 2 years to 4 years, just depends on what the actual skill set is that you want to do. Like obviously being a laborer is different than being an iron worker, right? A little different set of skills that are needed for that. But then working for a construction management company, we have accountants that work in our firm, right? So there's accounting, right? There's business majors there. We also have like Caitlin and Lindy said, the estimators and the pre-construction team. So majority of them are college graduates with some degree in engineering, but we do have also folks that have come up through the trades. We do have folks who have been carpenters who are now moved over to the construction management side, and there are project superintendents. They're the lead out in the field. Like Caitlin would be the overall, lead for the entire project. And you've got superintendents who are the lead out in the field and making sure what Caitlin needs done is getting pushed out into the field, right? And it's happening out there. So, just to go along with what Lindy said, there's just different avenues. It depends on what you want to do.
Excellent. Caitlin, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I just share a lot of the same sentiments. It really kind of depends what your interests are, because there's so much that you can do in construction, and it's not even, you're not even just, you know, limited to a construction manager or the general contractor. If you are interested in engineering, I mean, there are things that you can do. There's civil, there's mechanical, electrical. If you want to be an interior designer, that's all part of construction as well. And same with an architect. Sorry about that.
No worries.
There's so many different things, and I think that there really is almost kind of like a place for anybody if you have an interest in it. It just depends what your interests are. And I mean, there are positions available for, you know, high school diplomas and the whole way up through to a master's. It's really dependent on what it is that you're looking for.
Cool. All right. I like to end these with one final question, and it's a doozy. What are some ways people in your field are making a difference in the world? So anyone want to go first?
So like on a large scale or like a small scale?
Any scale you want.
Building buildings. I mean, it's kind of important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, building buildings. A lot of people volunteer, at least that I'm around. They, you know, use their construction knowledge to help others. Maybe in their spare time, they go renovate homes. We did an entire day where we fixed a porch, which to big multi-million-dollar projects that these guys are working on, that's nothing. But to the little old lady that lives there, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And talk to people in the community like you guys about the types of things that we're getting into. And we always like to help, even if it's not construction related. So I'm sure everybody else can agree that because we're helping to get the community a little bigger through construction, we know what's going on. And when we hear about something, we try to help whenever we can.
That's great.
Yeah.
Stacy, did you want to add?
Well, I mean, you know, the buildings that, you know, I get involved with in my company build is, you know, we're new, you know, burger center for Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, right? Where children can be treated, you know, actually Caitlin's company, Kinsley and mine worked together down at Aberdeen Proving Grounds probably about 10 years ago. I don't know if you were with them at that time, but we did a huge project, like 13 buildings down there. It was a quad venture. And it was, you know, Caitlin and my team and the two other contractors working together. So, I mean, just the buildings that we put together and the impact that we make on just the people that work there, but the communities that these buildings serve, it's something tremendous. And, you know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Caitlin?
I think the only thing that I would add is a lot of times when people think of construction, they think about new construction. Something that we also do is, you know, rehabilitation of old buildings. So I worked on a project in Baltimore. It was built in like the 1700s. It was a straw hat factory back in the day. We literally stripped it down and gave the building a new life. So instead of, you know, making more holes in the earth and, you know, building new things, we were able to take something that was a little dilapidated and needed some loving, and, you know, we brought it back to life. So I think, you know, overall, it's just between new and old construction in general, it just, I don't know. It's a way to give back.
I think that's great. So we are going to wrap up. I want to make sure that we don't have any other questions. I think we're good. What is, okay, so one piece of advice that you would, practical piece of advice that you would give to girls getting into the construction industry? Stacy.
Piece of advice. Be yourself, right? Just be yourself, right? You know, you're a wonderful human being, I'm sure. And you know, you've got something to contribute to this world, and people will listen as long as you're yourself.
Excellent. Lindy?
I always quote "Find your exit buddy" from Finding Nemo, because when I got into this industry, I was so overwhelmed with all of the people and the terms and the process, and just it's a lot to take in, and every day it feels like I'm being taught something new. And I had people say, hey, like, call me, you ever feel overwhelmed? And it was mostly women, because we do band together as a group of, hey, someone says something rude to you and you just want to ask me before you send that email, just call me, email, text me. So I have my circle that I always reach out to when I start feeling that way. And they've kept me going. So find your exit buddy for the worst days, and also celebrate with you as you're figuring it all out.
I like it.
Mhm.
Caitlin.
My biggest piece of advice is to just ask questions and take notes. You can never ask too many questions. There is no such thing as a dumb question. To really learn and, get ahead, and, you just have to ask, and don't be afraid to ask.
I like it. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. I think
Thanks.
it was a great discussion.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, girls.